What's up, everybody? This is Chris. I'm here with Joshua.
Hey.
We're here to talk about Fear the Walking Dead. Now, that kicked off last night, and we got our first taste of this new spin-off show. First off, I want to talk about where we start in this timeline, and do you like where this show started, first off?
It's sort of a weird concept of the show because I think a lot of people want to know, how did the zombie outbreak start? This goes all the way back to, like, it seems like just a tad bit after the outbreak happened, so we're never, I don't think, ever going to find out how the outbreak happened. Because really, the show's not about that. They've said, like, Robert Kirkman and the showrunners have said, it's really not about that. It's about what happens afterwards, which is fine. But sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say this show actually is supposed to take place in that time when Rick was asleep.
Yeah.
So Rick gets shot, he's asleep, and this is what happens to create that world that he woke up back into.
Right. So, but the thing is, I want to kind of see the inception of it, even if I don't know, like, the science behind of why it happened. I want to see, like, patient zero, you know what I mean? But we're not getting that, so I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to be a part of it. And then we're just sort of seeing it, we're seeing it from sort of a detached point of view, because we're seeing it on the cell phones and stuff and hearing about it. People are going missing and stuff. So it's creating this sort of ominous air. Overall, it's not hooking me. I don't know, from the beginning, I wasn't like, oh my God, this is great, I love this is so good. I was more just like, okay, and you know, and because the other Walking Dead started with, we'll compare them more side by side in a minute, but it just started with so much like zombie action and stuff like this. And this was just such a slow, character-based thing that, and it didn't really hook me.
To me, I don't ever want to see Patient Zero, and I don't want to know why this started. That is not the show for me. The show is, how are these people dealing with this thing that's happening? So when you take it back closer to the origin, I feel like it's a little less interesting than what Rick is going through and seeing the world that has progressed that far. I guess it's interesting from the perspective of you're seeing it in a different place, and I think that's what they were counting on. It's like, oh, let's see it in a really populous area, and we'll see if, like, how that plays out, if we're really going to get a sense of that many people, or if it's still going to feel really enclosed. Now, what did you think of the characters in this one? Were you feeling a bond to them, or was it just, you know, wait and see?
Well, first I'll say that I thought all the performances were really good. Like, all the actors, like, brought their A game. I thought it was a really well acted show. But again, I was just not, like, really in on, like, any of their struggles or anything. They're all, it all just seemed, you know, not to discredit, you know, the writers of the show, but it almost seemed a little generic of, like, everything. Oh, you know, the family problems and stuff, and there was no sort of, like, particularly interesting, like, plight, you know, like, oh, this guy's a druggie, like, this guy, she feels like she fails a parent, you know, okay.
There was some implied thing. They mentioned the fact that, like, one of her kids is not a junkie and one is, and it almost harkened back to either she had a problem or her former husband or father of the children had a problem, and I think that's an interesting thing that they're going to explore down the line, so we'll see about that.
Yeah, I feel like, so there are interesting things there. They, like, seeded some things, and there's foreshadowing a little bit, but there's nothing I'm, like, dying to know about any of these characters, and that's not something I like on the first go. It
felt to me that the showrunners were saying, like, it's interesting enough that we're going to show you, like, someplace else in the world that's happening with these rules, with these zombies, and that you're going to get to see it sort of develop. But, like, for me, it didn't have the same impact as the characters that I felt immediately tied to in the other show. Do you think that's possibly related to the fact that this isn't based on source material, that this is just coming out of, like, nowhere?
Yeah, because it isn't based on any comic books, which is really interesting. But on the other hand, it's, I feel like having done The Walking Dead for so many seasons, 5 seasons we're in now, that you'd be able to pick and choose and learn, like, from, like, you've learned a lot from doing that. So you should know, like, what makes good zombie TV by now. And in this first episode, I didn't quite get that. I didn't feel like the dread and the horror. A lot of it was very, like, self-aware, right? Like the principal, like, hunched over and he like calling his name, like, and he's like, huh? And he's just a normal person, right? But you thought maybe he was a walker. There was several instances of that where you just see somebody, like, whether it's their body posture or that maybe they were out of focus in the background, and you're like, oh, anyone could be a zombie at this moment. And they were really playing with people and our expectations. Which, I mean, that was some fun parts of the pilot, but again, nothing that I was like, oh my God, this is so great.
One of the things that I was sort of like, I think was one of the problems for me is they just felt like they made that leap too easily into, hey, this is something otherworldly. This is something that has never happened before. It's like they see evidence of it, but you know, even in our world, we've had that guy on bath salts who went and ate somebody's face, right? So like, it's not like everybody was like, oh my God, we got zombies running around. I mean, even though that was the headline, it was like, clearly this guy's on drugs and he's tough to stop, or, you know, somebody on PCP is really tough to stop. They mentioned that. They were aware enough to say that, and they mentioned PCP a couple times. But it was interesting that by the time we get to the last segment, and I guess this is a spoiler if you made it this far, this is a spoiler.
By the way, spoiler.
When we get to the part where they run over the drug dealer, Calvin, like 3 times, the parents just seem like, you know, okay, he deserved it. He's a zombie. Like, this is what we're... So it was like that leap was too easy for everybody.
Yeah.
I felt like.
I completely agree. At the end, like they are confronting like their first like walker really, and the fact, because you know, when in real life we wouldn't just start like mowing people down, right? There would be like it would be I feel like a long amount of time we have to process what's happening and decide that these aren't people anymore.
Oh, and decide also that you can't cure them, or there's no way to like actually like solve this problem other than killing them.
Yeah, so
like, that comes way later.
So this teenager and then 2 teachers who were supposed to like value life, right, and people are just like totally fine. And then it was such a non-reaction at the end, right? Like you were just saying, like at the very end, they're not like, oh my God, like this just happened, and there's no screaming, there's no horror, there's no like dread of what just happened. It's like, oh my God, you see that? Did you see that?
I don't want to like suppose what they were gonna do, but I think what they were going for is like, sometimes things are shocking and you don't know how to really react to them, and you're in this place of like, I don't even know what I just saw. But if I were those parents, I think I would have been yelling at my kid not to run over the guy like the 3rd time.
Right.
You know,
like, it was twice he got him, but still.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Still,
like, no, what are you doing? Like, you don't know what's happening.
They didn't
here.
scream at him. I mean, I guess he tried to like bite him, but you know, it's interesting. How did you feel about it in terms of like this compared to the first Walking Dead? I should say the original series pilot.
The original pilot, I loved that pilot episode, right? And I loved that whole first season. That was so good. This was nothing like it. This seemed actually a little more like run-of-the-mill zombie stuff of like, oh, people are encountering this thing and they're like you're scared of it for the first time. And like I said earlier, there was a little like parody of zombie in there, like playing with the expectations of zombie.
Sure.
So it was actually, in trying to do something different from The Walking Dead, they actually made something more samey to the rest of larger zombie you know, movies,
lore,
horror, and movies and TV shows. Yeah, just zombie stories. What about you?
Yeah, I felt much the same way. Like, I feel like there's room for it to grow, but I far prefer the world, and I felt far more invested in the characters in Walking Dead. Of course, I'd read the comics first, so I don't know how to kind of unpack that, but we want to know what you think of Fear the Walking Dead. Tell us in the comments, or just call us on the phone if you have our numbers. We'd like to hear from you. Anyway, tell us what you think about Fear the Walking Dead, and we'll be at you next week with more.